Do you identify as black?
When I'm dancing. Is that okay to say?
Hey BG Squad, welcome to another episode of the BG Show. Just wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on transracial identity? Let me know, drop them in the comment section. I actually ask you that because there's this influencer, this British influencer who happens to be white, who recently made headlines after undergoing more than a dozen surgeries to identify as Korean. Have you heard about it? We'll get into it. Before that though, make sure to comment on this video, share it, hit that subscribe button, and tap that notification bell. Okay, so back to this story. You know, as we heard about it, our team got to discussing, and we said, we should talk about this topic of transracial identity. What does that even mean? What are your thoughts on it? Well, we thought we would check in with the people. It's time for your voice, for the people, by the people. We're going around, we're literally asking people about the topic of transracial.
Yeah?
You ever heard about this before?
What's it?
Transracial.
I feel like this was similar, yo. I feel like I saw this in our HR class or something.
Transracial.
Yeah.
Transracial?
Yeah. Do you guys know what transracial identity means or is?
For the most part.
What is it?
It's basically when somebody from a particular race
Yeah.
wants to transform into a different race or identify as a different race.
Why would they want to do that?
I don't know. So we're trying to figure it out.
Oh, I think I saw some article where a lady, she did some surgery to look Korean.
Oli London.
Okay.
How do you feel about that when you read that?
It's funny because when you say that, I think the K-pop stars are trying to be more like Caucasian. Like when I see some of them, that's my gut reaction.
Yeah.
So I like that you said that this British guy is trying to be more like a K-pop star.
All I see is someone who is searching externally for identity instead of internal.
Oh.
Right? If he looks within, he could find himself, and it doesn't matter how he looks.
So you think it's an identity crisis?
I think it is. I think a lot of our generation is going through an identity crisis. Because we're not taught about these things when we're growing up in school, you know? Like when I was growing up, I wasn't taught about who am I and why am I here? You know, what's my purpose? What does it mean to be human?
Honestly, man, it's actually pretty complicated.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually trans myself. And so I do have some respects towards people feeling like they're not themselves, but I feel like the transracial thing is a little bit over the top for me, to be honest.
No matter how much surgery you get, like you are who you are, like your parents made you from, like that's your background.
Do you believe people can actually be transracial?
I don't think so. I just think there's a lot of like systemic things that come with a certain race that people don't ever have to experience. And so, yeah, maybe transitioning your outer shell is one thing, but the experience that people go through on a day-to-day in that body is something that you won't have to experience. So
I am of the opinion that whatever makes you feel whole and makes your soul happy, do that.
Right.
And I have no qualms about it. I don't look at it in any differently than I would someone who isn't. I'm all about whatever makes your soul happy.
I don't understand that concept. We are who we are.
Yeah.
You know, and
Unless they want to explore and experiment with life, and they say, okay, well, today I think I'm going to be an Eskimo. Maybe tomorrow I want to be a bird.
I actually.
So you don't think somebody can identify, like you couldn't identify as black? You don't think you could ever identify
I don't
as
get
black?
into separation. Like you're a beautiful person.
Thanks, girl. You're beautiful too.
I know.
Not the modesty.
Well, listen, we all have to love ourselves.
Yes.
Because if we can't love ourselves, we can't love another.
Maybe. I don't want to say no.
Yeah.
I was born in English. I identify as English. But
So you
I
don't identify as white?
Yes.
Yeah.
White, Caucasian,
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
All of that. I've never needed to identify as anything else. So, but that's not to say that is the way everyone feels.
Right.
someone like me, like, I understand. I'm white, Caucasian. I was born in a very privileged world. I've never experienced any type of racism.
Yeah.
So my job is to listen, to learn, to be an ally, and try not to be judgmental. Like that, and that's all I can really speak to.
I just think no.
Yeah.
I think you can adopt values and cultural values from other, ethnic groups for sure. Like if you want to, respectfully be a part of that. But I think it's a bit much to go and say I identify as a black man, for instance. Like no, like at the end of the day, like I'm Iranian, first generation Canadian. Like that's just part of the technicalities, if you will. Like
I think personally that's how most people feel.
Yeah.
That right there, like no, off rip, no. But everyone's been scared to say that. They've been keeping it PC. I think that's how most people actually feel. Or maybe I'm just projecting because that might be how I feel. Or not.
Keep the people guessing. You're trying to keep the people guessing? What happens for a person who, let's say, grew up in who's one race, but grew up, let's say, with family members of a different race? For example, maybe if they were adopted.
That's true. I guess maybe if you were raised in a different environment, I feel like a lot of the time, the environment that you live in, makes up a lot of how you act. And I feel like there have been plenty of kids that have been adopted by families that weren't necessarily the same ethnic makeup as they were initially, and you don't see a lot of these people trying to take on a different sense. Their identity is not just composed of how they look. It's built on their relationship with their parents, other people, and the things they've been through. It's not just an aesthetic or a surface level thing.
Hey, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe right now. So what race do you identify with?
well, I mean, I think I'm kind of mixed personally. I was born here. My parents are immigrant Iranians. I also lived in the homeland for a little bit, but most of my life has been here. I would say I'm probably neither here nor there, but I pay respect to both cultures for sure.
I don't want to assume, but I'm going to presume you're white.
Italian, pure Italian background. My parents are both from Italy. A lot of people, obviously they say I'm white, and I've always, as a little girl, I remember filling out questionnaires at school about, you're either white, black, Latino. And I remember specifically asking my teacher when I was maybe 5 years old that I felt that I wasn't because my parents came from a different culture. And I always felt very different in school, whether it would be with food, with clothing.
People from some European countries don't look at themselves as white.
Exactly, yeah.
But technically,
under social standards like European white.
You're considered, they're considered white.
Yeah.
Race is very complex.
I think it's a social construct.
To
I really
conquer and
do.
divide?
I think it's, I wouldn't necessarily say to conquer and divide. I don't know the origins, but I would say it's a simplification of grouping people up by skin color, by something that's very obvious to see. And obviously that's like black, white, and brown. Even though they might be categorizing themselves on their own thing. Like, for example, I'm a tribe, I'm a part of this tribe, the Igbo tribe or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
You think race is a social construct?
I'm going to leave that one to some experts.
Small parts of it are social constructs, but in general, these constructs are things that were in place that a lot of people didn't get the option to pick and choose what that looked like. And there's a certain folk, like white folks are mainly the people that create these social constructs for people. So, yeah.
I do think that the word is very racially charged. I think it doesn't I feel more aligned to ethnic groups as a defined term.
It's an idea. That's all it is.
Somebody put a caption on it.
Yeah, somebody categorized it.
Are you human?
We're humans.
That's true. We are humans.
We are human.
But that person who categorized it, put a caption on it, benefited from it.
Or those people.
Yeah, separation is always about somebody trying to benefit
Right.
from being one different from another.
I mean, but what is race, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
What is race?
Good point.
What is it?
We're all human and of the
Yes.
human race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
You're making us think very hard. I need to
think
drink
too
some more.
much.
Too much. You need another drag.
And then I can boogie.
Well, I was gonna say no. You need to get me a drag. Or as a black person, do you even have a choice?
No,
believe that?
not at all. Not at all.
Because-
As Jamaicans, we
Yeah.
don't have a choice. Like
we
are who
we're
we are.
born in the skin that we're in.
Yeah.
We can't really change anything about it. We can't change how people perceive us. And
Some people be bleaching.
That's very unfortunate because our skin is beautiful. Our
Exactly.
melanin is beautiful.
A little bit louder for the ones in the back.
Our melanin is beautiful. Come on, guys.
exactly, our
Black
black,
is
is
beautiful.
beautiful. And we can still tell that you bleached. So
The lips, you can't bleach the lips
you
away.
can't bleach the lips or the elbows. I'm sorry.
But this is why I always try to say black people are not monolithic, which is why it's so, it can be so harmful to categorize people as just one thing, because not all black people think alike.
But that goes back to culture, right? Because Jamaican people are raised differently than Nigerian people. Like, you may have a skin color in common, but your cultures could be completely different.
100%, but that respect is not given to black people.
Right, for sure.
When I was younger, I didn't know Somalian people identified as black. But now that I'm seeing it, they do.
Right, and I think it's all a learning experience. Do you look at transracial as potentially being cultural appropriation?
I don't think it's cultural. It could be cultural appropriation to a certain extent. Underlying issues with acceptance, maybe guilt, shame. There's a lot of factors that can play a part into somebody not feeling comfortable in their body. I love being black, and I don't see myself being anything different, so I don't have that experience, so I actually can't speak up on that.
In a sense, probably, yeah,
like
for
it's like
sure.
almost like extreme sense of it, for sure. Yeah.
Like you're fully just like changing your entire like the way you look and stuff just because you're like, oh, like it's trendy, or like you for some reason had like an extreme interest in it. Like that doesn't just like make it okay to do it. I don't know.
What if it's rooted in looks rather than like actual political, motivations? Is that a fetish, you think?
No, I mean, I think, like, listen, like, there are certain aesthetic looks and values that a lot of different cultural groups do tend to lean towards. So, for instance, Middle East is obsessed with, like, lighter skin tone, for instance, right? They don't want people to be in the sun. They associate that with, like, workers outside in the sun, right? And then you have others where, like, you have your major influencers that have the Kardashian look, and they really are obsessed with that particular aesthetic. So I just feel like if it's purely aesthetic, but you're not making claims that like I am Lebanese, for instance, or I am whatever, like I don't know, like I have mixed feelings about that personally.
Do you think you can have an authentic experience changing your race? And
Of course not, because like the way you presented it is kind of like it wasn't like from birth. It's not like somebody who is like gay or like somebody who is
maybe raised in a different
culture. You can't like just change your culture,
because you
right?
never would have experienced the real and authentic experience that someone from that race actually did.
Because if you're not like from, I guess, that background, like you don't have like a genuine or authentic understanding of like the things that these people have like been through and experienced on like a daily basis. Because like your identity was not like this, like especially like in terms of like taking the identity of like a marginalized community, like you haven't been through like those experiences. So like how could you feel more like that? Like how could you like take that on as your identity as opposed to like other people that actually have, like I don't know, it's kind of
It's like that lady Rachel, whatever her name is.
Oh yeah, the one
who
who
is actually white. You can't change your race. Like I mean, I understand you appreciate the races and whatnot, like it's fine, but like you can't like
you'll
change
never
your
really experience what someone from that race actually does
Exactly.
at the end of the day.
Exactly.
oh gosh, at the end of the day, the reality is this. There's a privilege in being able to switch your race if that's the route that you want to go.
But it is a privilege because you can pick to go back.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like, I think I think that's the issue with this transracial. Maybe not the issue. Maybe that's the wrong word. I don't know what the right word is, but it's like, it's hard to stomach when a white person wants to transition their race because yes, they can go back, but also they didn't have the same systemic issues, trauma, and struggles that other races, particularly blacks, I can only speak of the black experience, had.
Yeah, and you can even say like you pick and choose when you identify as that, right? Like you would pick and choose when it benefits you.
Yeah.
Like jobs. And then if you choose to identify as something else, like when you're doing a job application, they ask you.
Yeah.
They ask you what your racial identity is,
Yeah.
right? And if, let's say, you decided to pick Caucasian one day and then they found out that you weren't Caucasian, even if you identified as Caucasian, they say that you're not, then what? They're just not going to give you the job?
I think that's where some of the issues come about. Like,
for sure.
It's taking opportunities from people who are actually born that race. Yeah, definitely. It can be very problematic.
Well, I mean, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Very.
At least we're starting the conversation. What do you guys think about it right now? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop it in the comment section right now. In the meantime, I want to remind you that if you have any story ideas or, I don't know, show ideas you want us to look into, email us, news@brandongonezshow.com. And don't forget, we drop music and news every Tuesday and Friday. And we'll see you same place, same time next week. BG Squad, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment, and share this video.
Say, my team are the baddest.
Hey,
my team are the baddest. My team are the baddest. And you know we don't stress. Yeah, my team are the baddest. My team are the best. My team are the gladdest. And you don't know you catch us. Yeah.